Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, the content that we're going to talk about tonight is something that I'm going to be honest gave me complete pause when I discovered it upon my research for tonight's videos. There's something out of Utah. Would you guys believe that there's a bipartisan deal all about either, depending on your perspective, gun rights, gun control, or gun safety, depends where you land on this, that's basically institutionalizing something a lot of gun cultures already do. This is extremely interesting for a few reasons. I'm going to lay it out for you. Everything's going to be linked in the description box below, and I'll be honest with you. I need your guys' opinion on this one. This could either be viewed from multiple angles. This could be gun control in disguise. This could be gun safety. This could be gun rights responsibly executed. There's a lot of things here, and I need your help on it. So again, in the comments field. Now I'm going to say a quick word from our sponsor, LAS Concealment, made these videos this week possible, and then we're going to hit it again. I got feels on this one, and I cannot wait to share it with you. Now, if you're in the market for a holster for your favorite freedom tool, then you need to check out LAS Concealment. With LAS Concealment, you get a custom piece of equipment, molded specifically for your personal choice of freedom. Made from Kydex and designed to keep you comfortable and safe in your day-to-day activities. With custom designs, IWB and OWB, and multiple design options, they have what you may be looking for. Check them out in the description box below, and thank you again to LAS Concealment for making these videos possible. But guys, let's get into this. This is coming out of Utah. Okay, that's a gun-friendly state. That's a Republican state. And this bipartisan bill that they put forward was brought forward by a Republican House member based off of a law in Utah. So this is actually a thing. Again, enough of my my lead-in. Let me know what you guys think on this, because this is intriguing. Suicides account for the vast majority of gun deaths in Utah, and more than half of all suicides in the state are by firearm. Well, that coincides and jives with the statistics that we're always talking about on this channel. Half to 2/3 of all firearm deaths, or deaths with a firearm, are suicides. We know that. We talk about it all the time. That's one of the things that we discuss against the gun controllers' points, where they constantly point these huge numbers out, but they don't tell you it's suicides. A similar trend can be seen nationally, with firearm suicides accounting for 54% of gun deaths and 53% of suicides involving a firearm, according to the Pew Research Center. In an effort to combat the use of guns in suicides, Representative John Curtis, Republican of Utah, introduced a bipartisan bill in Congress last month to create a national voluntary do not sell firearms list. Now, I can almost hear you guys screaming through the camera right now. Red flag laws, watch out. It's different than that, and that's why this intrigues me. Again, I'm not pro or against this. I'm just trying to bring it to you, get you guys' thoughts on it. This is intriguing because it's completely voluntary. In fact, this kind of institutionalizes something that we talk about on this channel a lot around family members, best friends, and social groups taking guns or handing guns to their friends when they don't need them, they don't feel responsible with them. It's kind of a state-level institutionalization of that principle, that responsibility. The concept of the voluntary do not sell list is to allow individuals to restrict themselves from buying or possessing a firearm. The main purpose being to reduce the use of guns in suicides. Well, here's my first thought that this really drew me to this article. They're attacking the suicide angle. This is incredibly important because once you start to identify the actual problem of where something's going on, not just something you're manipulating for gun control, you start to go to a different direction than immediately take all firearms away. What this bill is doing is saying, hey, you can put yourself voluntarily on a list. Again, I'm not saying I'm pro or against. What I'm saying is this is an interesting take that you've never heard of. This federal bill was inspired by similar programs in some states, including one in Utah. Again, a gun-friendly state. Check this out. Utah's law allowing individuals to restrict themselves from purchasing a firearm, introduced by Representative Steve Ellison, Republican of Sandy, was passed in 2021 and officially implemented in May 2021. As of July, 5 people have chosen to voluntarily restrict themselves from possessing a firearm, according to previous Deseret News reporting. So the idea is pretty straightforward. Put yourself on the list, and then you won't get firearms for X amount of time. I'm about to walk you through how it all works. I'm going to be completely honest with you. My immediate gut reaction is, check the fine print, red flags, red flag, red flag. But let's keep going because they actually seem to address this. And again, not pro or con. I just want to hear your thoughts. Currently, individuals who wish to restrict their firearm access have to take a form into a law enforcement agency and present it to an officer themselves about their own firearms, their own rights, their own possession, their own property, their own decision and of their own volition, and delivered to an officer with a form that is filed. I can almost hear you guys. Registry, it stays in the background. They address that as well. Ellison, who sponsored the bill, said he plans to introduce changes in the upcoming legislative session in hopes of making the program more accessible. Right there is where I start to get my real heebie-jeebies up, right? When you start to make changes to make it more accessible, that usually means bring more people into it, bring more entry points, all these different things. And we're about to talk about it. This is the part that I don't like. But it's interesting on the voluntary part, all right? Check this out. One change he would like to make is to add an option for medical professionals to aid individuals in the process. Now, for me, I don't like that a whole bunch because that really smacks of red flag laws. The proposal would allow a person to fill out the form in front of a medical professional who would verify the individual's identity and then allow the medical professional to take the form to law enforcement on behalf of the individual. Again, when you get a third party in there, you're getting real close to red flag laws. Now, let's keep on going, and this is actually an interesting statistic. The study found that 46% of individuals who were receiving psychiatric care indicated willingness to restrict themselves from possessing a gun and would utilize a do not sell program. That's drastically different than a red flag law. Again, not pro, not con. But this is intriguing because I haven't heard this before. Here's how it actually works. This is on the actual source, everything linked. How does Utah's do not sell list work? To voluntarily be put on a list, an individual must print and fill out the, quote, request for voluntary temporary firearm restrictions list form from the Utah Bureau of Criminal Identification and walk that form into a law enforcement agency. Once the request is processed, this is for you guys who are screaming at the camera, once the request is processed, that individual would be restricted from purchasing or possessing a firearm for 180 days. The restriction expires at the end of those 6 months, but individuals have the option to voluntarily extend the restriction. Again, voluntarily. This part is the kind of the outs if something goes wrong. Early removal from the list is allowed 30 days from the initial request to be put on the list, so you got 30 days to remove your name off that list, your own name. To do so, individuals fill out the voluntary temporary firearm restriction removal form through BCI and take it to a law enforcement agency. So the exact same process going in. Again, their guns, their rights, their process, and their volition. After the removal of the person's name, all records related to the individual being on the restricted list are destroyed. Now, I'll be quite honest with you. Those of you screaming at the camera right now, I'm kind of in agreement. What are the checks and balances that that's going to be destroyed? Because we've also heard before there's no such thing as a digital registry. We know how that worked out. But one more thing I want to show you, and they even address the differences between the voluntary program and the extreme risk protection program, because they seem to know where these conversations are going to go. The key difference between extreme risk protection orders and a voluntary firearm restriction is the, quote, do not sell list is voluntary, completely voluntary. The only way for one to be added is if they make the choice to restrict themselves from having a gun. Extreme risk protection orders allow immediate family members or law enforcement to restrict an individual from possessing a firearm. And that's a pretty distinct difference. You've got one person making the decision for themselves and their own well-being and their own rights versus having someone else take them from you because based on someone else's opinion. In some states, without even a say or awareness of what's going on. That's why we have such a aversion to red flag laws and extreme risk protection orders. California, New York, Illinois, they abuse the crap out of that stuff. But this piques my interest, at least to look at it and say, huh. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Gun control in disguise, reasonable, responsible gun ownership, or somewhere in the middle. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you tomorrow morning on the Bullet Points. I'm Braden. See you later.